This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
I love this story. This is just a great way to end a great week. Just breaking. JD Vance invites Daniel Penny to the Army-Navy game tomorrow. This is big. I was wondering what the next move would be for Daniel Penny. He said he doesn't want the attention, doesn't want the limelight. But what are you going to do when the next vice president and president, by the way, invites you to attend the Army-Navy game, one of the great spectacles in American sports, and it's bigger than usual. This is a really, really big Army-Navy game because both teams are really good this year. Army is 11-1, and Navy's 8-3. They're playing tomorrow, Saturday, 3 p.m. in Landover, Maryland, at the Northwest Stadium. And Trump's going to get a big ovation. They will break into a USA chant. But sorry, Donald, you're not getting the biggest ovation. This is going to be spectacular. Find out for me, Ironhead, how many people does the Northwest Stadium hold in Landover, Maryland? Because every single one of them is going to be on their feet cheering for American hero Daniel Penny. This is going to be
62,000.
How many? 60?
62,000.
62,000. And these are tough tickets. This is a tough ticket. You got to pay a lot of money or know someone to get into these Army-Navy games. This I'll be watching, man. And you got to tune in right at 3:00, I think. Hopefully they give him a good, he gets to walk on the field with Trump and Vance and wave to the crowd. Oh man, I'm going to get the hairs on my neck are going to stand up. I'm going to get choked up watching Daniel Penny, an American hero, step on the field with the Army-Navy guys. Hopefully the players are out there too, because the players, they're heroes. This is, as they say, the only game where all the guys on the field are willing to die for everybody in the stands and everybody at home watching. Well, there's another hero out there with all the cadets and midshipmen, and that will be one Danny Penny. And maybe he'll do an interview too. He's just, you just got to love the guy, and it's just more infuriating every time you see him that a DA in New York, our biggest city, and a prosecutor were determined to put the man in prison. A hero, just a great American, and they wanted him imprisoned, and it backfired. And we will see what real America thinks about Danny Penny tomorrow at 3 p.m. Great move, JD Vance. I was a little surprised in response. I was wondering what the Democrats were going to do, and it's a little surprising. Liz Warren invited Luigi Mangione to go see Wicked with her tomorrow night. I'm not sure he's available. They're hoping he makes bail, but that'll be cute. The two of them going to see, because you can only push people so far, she said. Not about Daniel Penny, but about Luigi Mangione, who murdered an innocent man on the streets of New York, and now is sitting in a cell in Pennsylvania, just accepting all that love, all those letters, love letters. He's probably got proposals for marriage right now. People sending him, pictures of their junk. It is just creepy how those on the left are responding to the murder of an innocent father of two. All right. I got to get to so much here today. What a day. What a week. Joe Biden commutes the sentence of 1,500 people, pardons 39 people. And I'm just going to give you a little hint here. They're not good people. These are not people who were unjustly prosecuted. He commuted the sentences of some of the worst of the worst. January 6th, hey, it's 38 days till Donald Trump takes office, and it's 24 days to Democrat Christmas. That is January 6th, their favorite day on the calendar. And it just keeps blowing up in their faces. Yes, I can say definitively now that everything you've been told about January 6th is a lie. I mean everything. We'll start with that. I have to start with this because let's be honest, we spent months, years talking about January 6th. When it first happened, like most people, I condemned it, but it didn't matter. It was all part of this plot, this strategy to use it to stop Trump, to ruin Trump. They impeached Trump for saying go peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. Then they arrested about, I'll get the number here. It's about 1,500 Americans, charged them, most of them with misdemeanors, put them in prison. And any decent American, I don't care if you're a Democrat, knows this was all political, that these people were over punished, over sentenced. It's still going on, by the way. They're still arresting January 6th defendants. Hopefully every single one of them will be pardoned, because there's not one of them, not one, not the worst of the worst, not the ones who fought with cops, not one of them who's as bad a person, as bad a criminal as some of the people Joe Biden pardoned yesterday. We'll tell you about them, I promise. But here's just a quick list of things you were told from Liz Wheeler. It was an insurrection. Yes, they tried to stop the peaceful transfer. No, they did not. They protested what they thought was a rigged election. And it turned out it was a rigged election. We learned later that with the cooperation of big tech, of Facebook and Twitter and all the big tech companies, they suppressed the laptop, which would have changed the minds of millions of voters. They did that in service to Joe Biden, the challenger. The challenger, the Democrat challenger to Trump. So they were working for Donald Trump while working to undermine Donald Trump and suppressing the damning information on the laptop. It wasn't an armed insurrection. They weren't armed. No one went into the Capitol with an illegal gun. There were undercover agents in the crowd. Yes, we will get to that. No policemen were killed, not even Brian Sicknick. He was not beaten to death with a fire extinguisher. That's what the media told you in the days after the riot at the Capitol. Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, the horns guy, was not violent. He was not leading the mob. He was peacefully walking through, as we later learned. He spent 10 months in solitary confinement. He was sentenced to 41 months before they let him go, after some of the video showed that he did nothing. In fact, he was escorted around the Capitol by Capitol Police. They ruined this man. The Capitol Police opened the doors and waved the protesters into the Capitol. We saw that. We showed you that video. Despite what NBC News said, yes, they did. They waved them in the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi did not accept Trump's offer to call out the National Guard, and later said she screwed up. I don't think she did. No congressmen were harmed. None of them were assaulted. In fact, this week, Nancy Mace was assaulted by a transgender activist. That is one more congressman got injured this week in the halls of Congress by a protester than was assaulted on January 6th. Many January 6th defendants were denied due process and coerced into guilty pleas. They were all overpunished. Many of them spent time in solitary confinement for misdemeanors. What happened was, I think, assisted, if not led, by federal agents, or I'm sorry, not federal agents. Let me get that straight. Assets, informants. We have watched for 4 years as Christopher Wray has lied, as Merrick Garland has lied to the country. They knew they were lying, but they just kept lying. We learned yesterday, let me get the numbers from the IG report, that there were 26 FBI informants, confidential human sources in the crowd. 13 of them entered the restricted area. For that, crime. Many went to jail for years. Hopefully they'll all be free in 38 days. But none of the federal informants, none of the confidential human sources was charged or sentenced to prison. None. One of them, at least one, the FBI paid his expenses, flew him to D.C., according to the IG report. And it doesn't matter. The effort continues to gaslight the public, to lie to you. They're never going to drop this. They're never going to admit what they did was a politically motivated effort to stop Trump and stop Trump's supporters. This, I mean, we talk about media bias all the time, just the lies you get from the media, who were always biased, but have completely gone to the extreme since Trump arrived and since Trump's first term. We've gone over it with Pete Hegseth, with you name it, with Kash Patel, with every story that the media has just reached new lows. Here are the headlines. The report, again, said there were 26 confidential human sources, assets in the crowd. That was the bombshell. 13 went in the restricted area. At least one they paid his expenses. Here are your headlines. Yesterday, when this news broke, ABC News, probe finds no evidence feds were involved in inciting January 6th. Reuters, FBI did not send undercover operatives to join January 6th attack. Politico, FBI didn't deploy undercover agents on January 6th. The Independent, no evidence undercover FBI agents joined the Capitol riots, despite ongoing conspiracy theories. So they say they got you. They got them. There were no FBI agents in the mob, but there were FBI assets. There were informants. There were people being paid by the FBI to, I think, incite the crowd, certainly encourage the crowd. And the takeaway from every single major media outlet, CNN, no undercover FBI agents were at the January 6th riot. These people are just despicable. They know that's not the headline. That's not the takeaway. They know Ray and Garland and all the Democrats have been lying to for 4 years. They know the story is FBI had informants in the crowd who went in the restricted area, who went in the Capitol. They're grandmothers. There's a grandmother who prayed in the Capitol for 10 minutes and was sentenced to a year confinement. These people did the same thing, but they were on the payroll for the FBI. And Ray said over and over again, well, actually, he said he couldn't answer, but he claimed there were no FBI agents. Okay, no FBI agents. Were there FBI informants? Oh, I can't answer that. Well, you could. I mean, if you wanted to tell the truth, how can you come to any other conclusion that the whole thing was coordinated, that they knew Trump's crowd would get a little rowdy and they knew they could use this for political purposes, and God knows they did. They thought it would be the end of Trump. They impeached him for this. They impeached the president after his term was up in hopes that he could never run again. Once again, it blows up in their faces. Once again, Trump survives. And once again, the media just shows just how despicable they are. I mean, this is incredible. This coverage, they're never going to give it up. We're going to hear in how many days did I say? In 24 days. Once again, we're going to hear it was worse than 9/11. Hell, Kamala Harris said it was a day that will live in infamy alongside December 7th, 1941 and September 11th, 2001. She said that, a day where the only person who was killed was Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, shot dead by Michael Byrd, a Capital City police officer, who was promoted and given a $36,000 bonus for shooting an unarmed woman. Someday we're going to know everything. Hopefully soon, when the Trump administration takes over and Kash Patel just starts flipping over rocks, we're going to find out the whole thing was coordinated. That's my guess. And Nancy Pelosi knew what she was doing and knew this would be the results and thought they could use it. Think back 4 years ago, the idea that Trump would ever be president, it would just, no one would believe it. He led an insurrection, tried to overthrow, wanted to kill Mike Pence. Another lie. No one was going to kill Mike Pence. They made a guillotine. Yeah, they were going to lop off his head. And so they don't believe it. They never believed it. They just used it. And we know now that the FBI was well aware of what was going on and encouraging it. Yes, it was a setup. It was a setup. Yes, I'm sorry. It was not an insurrection. It was a setup. All right. That was a good, that was a great revelation yesterday for Team Trump once again. The whole January 6th narrative fell apart, and the media, again, they're not giving up. They're going to continue to lie on behalf of the Biden regime and the Democrats. You know what else they're going to do? Just ignore the big stories. If they make Joe Biden look bad in the final days, can you imagine if Donald Trump pardoned a Chinese spy who was convicted on child pornography charges, who was found with 47,000 images of child porn, including images of babies being raped? That guy, his sentence was commuted by Joe Biden yesterday. That happened. And you know what you got from, let me see, ABC, NBC, and CBS? Didn't mention it. Didn't mention that the sitting president pardoned a kiddie porn guy who was a Chinese spy and sent him home to China. He might not even be the worst of the people whose sentences were commuted by Joe Biden yesterday. This is just mind-blowing. We'll tell you about some more of the people who are now free, thanks to, the guy in the White House who brought compassion and decency back to the Oval Office. Yeah, that guy. Hunter Biden is nowhere near the worst person who's had his sentence or got a pardon from Joe Biden. We'll tell you about some more of these wonderful people. And we got to get to this CNN story. It might be the biggest hoax. It might be. I'll just say I'm not sure, but we will show you a report from CNN and let you decide whether this was all made up or not. It's amazing. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Do you want a better way to simplify finance operations for your business across expenses, vendor payments, and accounting? If so, Ramp could be a complete game changer for you. Ramp is the corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money in your pocket. Ramp gives finance teams unprecedented control and insight into company spend. With Ramp, you're able to issue cards to every employee with limits and restrictions and automate expense reporting so you can stop wasting time at the end of every month. Ramp saves you money. Businesses that use Ramp save an average of 5% on the first year. Ramp is easy to use. Get started, issue virtual and physical cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. Whether you have 5 employees or 5,000, doesn't matter. And now you get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Gerry. That's ramp.com/Gerry, ramp.com/GERRY. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Do you wake up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, or ringing in your ears from grinding and clenching your teeth at night? I've been through this. It's fairly common, and dentists charge $600 for a bruxism night guard. Many people are now discovering the Brux Night Guard. Unlike regular night guards that go all the way to the back of the teeth, Brux Night Guard only covers the front teeth. This unique design is what sets Brux Night Guard apart from all other guards. It only covers the front teeth, so the bite force is directed away from the back, where many people grind and clench to help reduce jaw pain and still protect the teeth. You mold it at home to the top and bottom teeth. And unlike other guards, it is made in America and uses 2 materials for added durability. Order a Brux Night Guard today and use the code MAX22 to get 10% off plus free shipping. Go to bruxnightguard.com and enter the code word MAX22. Man, it is a tough job trying to figure out who the worst person who Joe Biden set free yesterday. He commuted the sentences of almost 1,500 prisoners. He pardoned 39, including Jin Xinlan, a Chinese national who was sentenced in 2020 to 97 months in prison. They find 47,000 images of child porn on his computer. Why do you need, every time I see these stories, why do you need 47,000? Do you even have time to look at 47,000 images and videos of child porn? I mean, that's like having 47,000 porn movies. Well, who has time for that to do? I never understand the quantity that some of these freaks have in their collection. The guy is now free, sent back. It is allegedly part of a prisoner swap, but I don't care. Find somebody else. Find another Chinese citizen to swap. You don't swap a guy who's supposed to do 97 months for such a heinous crime. But he's free.
They did swap a WNBA player for that.
Was there a WN player? The guy just has no bottom, no floor to his. He has no ethics. I mean, he has no standards. He has no shame. He has no decency. How could a man? I don't care what kind of deal was made. How can an American president look at that guy and say, "Yeah, he can go free now"? He freed a couple of other Chinese spies. Freeing Chinese spies. There's got to be something more to that than showing compassion. Is that Biden's? I want to get to Biden's statement because it is. We get Biden's statements here. Here he is announcing the pardons and commutations. America was built on the promise and the promise of possibility and second chances. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities, and taking steps to remove sentencing disparities for nonviolent offenders, especially those convicted of drug offenses. Oh, that sounds good. The guy's not even an American. He considers child porn to not be a violent offense. Gee, why do you think they made those images and videos? You freaking disgrace. Joe Biden is just a national disgrace. We're to look back at this era, this 4 years, with shame as a country that this man was allowed to do things like this. He says, today I'm pardoning 39 people who've shown successful rehabilitation and shown commitment to making their communities stronger and safer. All right. Other than the Chinese spy who's into kiddie porn, I'm not sure how he made his community. He was sentenced in 2020. This guy did less than 4 years for kiddie porn, for images of babies being raped. You ever heard of Michael Callahan? I hadn't. He was just commuted. His sentence was just commuted. He's called he was the judge in the Kids for Cash scandal. I'd never heard of this till yesterday when the guy was allowed to walk free. Michael Callahan was a judge, and he sentenced kids to prison, to detention centers, to a detention center. You know why? Because it was a for-profit private detention center, and they kicked money back to him. He made more than $2 million in this scheme. He sentenced more than 2,000 kids to detention in order to get kickbacks and get rich. That guy And by the way, he was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Biden set him free yesterday. A number of the kids, he ruined their lives. A number of them killed themselves. Kids were sentenced to detention for one kid was sentenced for drug paraphernalia. They found him with like a bong. He sent him to a for-profit detention center, and the kid killed himself. And the guy who did that is now free because Joe Biden wanted to show mercy for people who paid the price, paid their debt to society. Did you hear about that on ABC or CBS or NBC or CNN? I don't think so. Do you know who Mafid Abdel Qadir Marshall is? He's a Muslim terrorist. He was set free. You know who Rita Crunwell is? She's the largest, she's the biggest embezzler in American history, a public sector. She embezzled $53 million from a town. She was like the town, whatever, auditor, controller, and she stole $50 million. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Joe Biden set her free. And we wonder whether he's going to pardon, Fauci or Adam Schiff. He's going to pardon everybody. He's just sitting back. He doesn't care what these people did. I assume they're good Democrats. But a guy who made money sending kids to jail, and those kids, a number of them killed themselves, is now free to go. And every one of these stories is more infuriating than the last. This is not why the president has pardon power. This is not why he's allowed to commute sentences. For people like this, for guys into kiddie porn, for guys who sent children to prison to enrich himself. The guy was set free by the president of the United States, and not a word, I mean literally not a word from most of the mainstream media. Just disgusting, sickening. God, this guy, you know what else Joe Biden did yesterday? He started selling off the wall, the parts of the wall that were there to put the wall up. If Trump had won, we would have continued to build the wall. When Biden won in 2020, they stopped building the wall. And yesterday, they started selling off for pennies on a dollar all the stuff, all the equipment needed to build the wall. This is the kind of person Joe Biden is. His final days, he's going to do everything he can to undermine Donald Trump. That is treasonous behavior. Selling off, we're going to buy it again. Donald Trump's determined to build the wall. But that's how petty this man is. He wants to hurt Trump, hurt the next administration. So let's sell all that lumber. Let's sell all that stuff, all those poles. And you can see it. They're literally trucking it away. People are paying $5 for a section of the wall to make it more difficult for Trump to return, to continue the project that he started 8 years ago. Just beyond despicable, truly. I wonder how many of these people, the Chinese guys, they're already back on a plane to China. They're free. The child porn guy, he's free. Probably gave him his photos and videos back before he left. But how many of them are going to be good contributors to their communities? And that's three. I just named 3 or 4 of the 1,500. We're going to learn more because some people in the conservative media will continue to look into this, but he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He's going out. His legacy's in the toilet. He's lying every time he speaks. He's lying, saying he's given Trump the best economy in the world, which obviously is a lie. He's going to do things in the next 38 days that are just going to be truly a disgrace to the country. There's just the man has no moral standard, no no compass. He's just a truly despicable creature, and it's going to get bad. It's going to get worse, I should say, for the next 38 days. All right, we got to get to this. My favorite. I shouldn't say my favorite. My favorite story of the day is Daniel Penny going to the Army-Navy game, but my favorite media story. Do I have time to get to this now? Let me do this now. Yes. I watched this report from CNN. They have a international correspondent, Clarissa Ward, who I will give her this. She's fearless. She's been around the world. She goes into war zones. She is, I thought, a really good reporter. In fact, when I first saw this report, I tweeted, I said, Clarissa Ward and Scott Jennings are going to save CNN, the two of them. Scott Jennings, every night, including last night, he had some great battles. He's the only reason to watch CNN at night. But she, for the most part, has had I think, a pretty good career. So I watched this report. It's 5 minutes long. We got a shorter version. She goes to Syria in the aftermath of the successful rebellion to overthrow Assad. And she goes with her crew into a prison. Now, we know they've emptied prisons. So she's not sure. So we think that if this prison is empty. And it's pretty compelling. I mean, it is riveting watching her walk with her team into this prison. And I watched it initially and said, wow, that is good reporting, good TV. And then I thought about it, and I'm not sure this is on the level. There's a lot of people out there saying this is a hoax. And I'll tell you why I became a little more cynical about this, skeptical about this report. Let's watch. She goes in, if you're just listening, I can describe it, but she goes into the prison, and it's intense because you don't know what's in there. If there's anyone left in there, if there are any, gun-wielding, maniacs in there, you don't know. But they're allegedly going in there with no clue, no idea who's in there, and they find someone. Watch this.
I can't tell though, it might just be a blanket. But it's the only cell that's locked.
Is he gonna shoot it?
The guard makes us turn the camera off while he shoots the lock off the cell door. We go in to get a closer look. It's still not clear if there is something under the blanket.
Oh, it moved. Is there someone there? I thought I saw it move. Is someone there? Or is it just a blanket? I don't know.
It's a big lump under a blanket.
Hello?
Okay, I just
Gunshot didn't wake him up.
That's a good point. And they're trying to figure out what's under the blanket. Finally, a soldier with a gun. And out comes the prisoner. Hands up.
I'm a civilian, he says. I'm a civilian. He tells the fighter he's from the city of Homs and has been in the cell for 3 months.
Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
He clutches my arm tightly with both hands.
Okay.
Does
anyone have any water? Water. My. Okay, it's water. It's water.
Gives him water. Takes a little sip.
Okay.
Awful clean looking clothes and fella.
Yeah, we'll get to my questions. She takes him. She leads him outside. They give him some food. He eats like one bite, and he's still rattled. But she says that he's been in the prison for 3 weeks. All right, I have so many questions. 3 weeks, as you point out, he's not really dirty. He seems like his beard is trimmed. He has a nice haircut. As many people have pointed out online, he has manicured fingernails. And his hands aren't dirty. In the cell is nothing but the blanket. As Tim Pool asked, where's the poop? Are you going to tell me that this guy hasn't eaten or drank water for 3 weeks? Because there was a lock on the cell on the outside. The guy had to shoot it off. And this is very dramatic. They take him outside. They drive him away. They continue to hug him and reassure him he's safe now. It was very dramatic. But then you start thinking about it. And you go, wait a second. How could a guy be in a prison by himself for weeks and look like that and act like that? I don't know. There are a lot of people online who are asking how this could be possible. One writes, Gunther Eagleman, big right winger on Twitter. This is the worst propaganda I've ever seen. Low even for you guys. Another one. This is why your network is losing the Food Network. Fake garbage like this. How about going to North Carolina and covering how the flood victims are being shafted by the government? Another one. Why is the cell so clean? How did he not hear the guard shooting the lock off the door? How did he not die after going 4 days without water? I have so many questions. This was definitely staged. Now, I know what you're going to say, Ironhead, because you're a conspiracy theorist, but are we supposed to believe this guy was locked in there for days, if not weeks, and that's what he looks like when they find him? And what's he doing under the blanket? Hiding? Because you're right. He wasn't sleeping. Someone just shot a gun about 8 feet away from him.
Maybe it was one of those new soundproof sleeping bags.
It doesn't look like it. And there's nothing. There's no trash. There's no wrappers. There's no poop. There's no nothing. And in his cell, just a blanket and a guy. And she really tries to sell it. She holds his hand and gives him water and hugs him. And the guard kisses him on the forehead. And they, take him away and put him in a car. And he says it's the first time he's been in a car not blindfolded that he can remember. I'll admit, it was compelling. I watched it and I thought, wow, this is intense. And then I started to think, does that look like a guy who's been trapped there for weeks with nothing? No food, no water? That's what you look like? I mean, where was the manicurist who did his nails? In the next cell? That's CNN. That's what you get. Instead of coverage of Joe Biden's commutations or of the lies that your federal government has told you about January 6th. Nope, not going to get any of that. You're going to get lots of coverage of Mangione, and you're going to get this, which I think, I'll just say it, looks like it was staged. Looks like another mainstream media hoax. And I'm disappointed because I think Clarissa Ward, she does some good stuff in the field in these areas, but this is a little dubious. I will say that. And maybe this will blow up on her. Maybe we'll find out the whole thing was fake, and it will come as no surprise. That's what the media does. They are hoaxes and lies. Hoaxes and lies. All right. We got more to get to here. We got to get to Eric Adams, mayor of New York. He's coming around. You know who else is coming around big time? John Fetterman. John Fetterman is considering a run for U.S. president. Why not? This time, why not? He's the only Democrat who's making any sense these days. We'll tell you about that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
All right, small business owners, listen up. If you're tired of losing money to credit card processing fees, we've got something you need to hear. With 24/7 payments, you can eliminate up to 99% of those fees thanks to their fee elimination program. Here's how it works. You pass the processing fees on to customers who pay with credit cards, and in return, you can offer them a discount for paying with cash or debit. It's a simple, effective, and fully compliant way to save thousands every month. Right now, 24/7 Payments is switching over 250 businesses every month to this program, and they can have you set up in less than 24 hours. Call 855-504-0799 today or visit them on the web at 247payments.com. That's the numbers 247payments.com. Are your loved ones aging? Has walking become difficult for your parents, your grandparents? It's tough. I've been there. I know lots of you have been there too. Stairs can often be a challenge for them. It's also a significant risk of falling. Well, Lifeway Mobility, one of the largest providers of accessibility solutions, offers stair lifts, wheelchair ramps, home elevators, transfer aids, and bath safety solutions to improve safety, independence, and quality of life at home. Most of their solutions are made in the USA, and they provide professional installation and service. Gain peace of mind and help loved ones stay safe at home. Schedule a free consultation when you call Lifeway Mobility at 888-780-7923. They have locations across the U.S. with showrooms for you to see and test their products. They're also rated the best stair lift company by the National Council on Aging and by U.S. News, and they have over 6,000 five-star reviews. Call 888-780-7923 or visit lifewaymobility.com for your free consultation. That's 888-780-7923. Well, I'm just reading about this woman, this Crudwell woman who embezzled $53 million from a town in Illinois. The town has 15,000 people, just a little town. How do you get that much money? And she did, as all these kind of crooks do, spent it on homes in her hometown and in Florida, and 405 horses. She had a horse farm in Florida with 400 horses on the taxpayers. That woman who stole $53 million is now free, thanks to Joe Biden. And that, that would be a good story. If we had a real media, that would be an incredible story. Talk about her, talk about the kiddie porn guy, talk about the judge who sentenced children to death, essentially, so he could make some money. They're all free now. They're, because Joe Biden, he has mercy. He has compassion for people who just, made a mistake. Sentenced kids to prison, innocent kids to prison so he could make some money. Now he's free, thanks to Joe Biden. But speaking of free, we got to get to Crystal Mangum, the Duke Lacrosse liar. Big news. But I want to mention John Fetterman because something happened to Fetterman, something strange. He, I thought, was a terrible candidate for Senate. Obviously, he had a stroke. Obviously, his debate against Dr. Oz was a disaster. And he's a big liberal and, he was a little rich kid who pretends to be a working class kid. He's the only Democrat making sense. And yesterday they said he's considering a run for president. You know what? Good for him. You know why? He's the only one with any guts to step out of line. I mean, normally Democrats don't do this. They are in lockstep. Doesn't matter what the issue. They don't have Mitt Romney's or Susan Collins's. They don't have these cowards that are afraid of bucking their own party. Fetterman has already committed to supporting some of the nominees, Trump's nominees. He may even support Hegseth or Kash Patel or Tulsi Gabbard. He should. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard was a Bernie bro, like him. And it would be just so wild to watch him run for president in his hoodie. I mean, when he had that stroke, you know what? He lost that inclination to follow the mob, to follow the crowd, to do what he's told. He thinks independently. He thinks, why not? Why not? Why not support Israel? Why not support a closed border, shutting down the border? Why not? It's common sense. If he doesn't run for president, if he runs for re-election in what it'll be, 4 years, he'll win in a landslide. This is the kind of independent thinking that you just don't find on the Democrat side. And you know who else is showing a little independence? Eric Adams, mayor of New York. As we know, as we've told you about, Tom Homan's making the rounds. Tom Homan went to Chicago and told the people of Chicago, you got a problem. Your mayor sucks and your governor sucks. And then he went to New York and met with Mayor Adams. Now, Mayor Adams, he's a former cop. He used to be big sanctuary city guy. He was like every other Democrat, determined to protect illegal alien criminals. But things have changed. First of all, the city's been overrun. Secondly, he was indicted by the Biden administration. So he sees no reason to to fall in line with the other Democrats. He meets with Holman, and then he says he's on board. He is going to work with the federal government to remove. I mean, the city's overrun with gang members, Venezuelan gang members. We see the results like nightly. People getting mugged and shot and beaten on the streets. And finally, a mayor who's willing to do the right thing, protect his citizens, his taxpayers. Here's Adams, I believe, after he met with Holman. Good.
We have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone, but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything to me. 500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now in this country.
Wow. Democrats aren't supposed to say that. The Biden-Harris administration lost track of, we thought it was 320,000. Now he says 500,000. Let's do it again. Can you imagine if the Trump administration lost track of 500,000 children? That'd be all, it'd be wall-to-wall coverage, 24/7, nonstop. That's all the media, that's all the Democrats would talk about. But it's under a Democrat administration, so let's not get caught up in a little issue like losing track of 500,000 kids. I was hoping Holman would start Massachusetts, where he should, he obviously should make it a priority, but I think he's going to start in New York, where there's lots of gang members, and it's going to be great because the mayor's going to cooperate, and the people are going to applaud. I don't even understand. I understand, Democrats and elected, the mayors and the governors who are just these dyed in the wool Democrats, devoted Democrats who want to fight Trump on everything. But what kind of citizen, like taxpayer, someone who lives in a neighborhood, who knows the gang members, why would they not applaud this? Why would a taxpayer not support this? It just makes no sense at all. So I think they will have the support of the innocent people in the community, the taxpayers, the residents, the citizens. So I think it's going to be a big job, but New York's a good place to start. And then they can come to Massachusetts and arrest the governor and the mayor of Boston. All right. Before we go, do we have time for this? I should have got to this earlier. But if you missed this yesterday, Crystal Mangum, there she is. Crystal Mangum, she was the exotic dancer who performed at the Duke Lacrosse frat, and accused them of raping her. She ruined the lives of 3 innocent Duke students with the help of the media and politicians and professors at Duke. The story fell apart fairly quickly. Now, I tweeted about this, and a number of people who've listened to me for a long time said I believed her. You know what? Everybody believed her, I think. I don't remember all the timeline, but the story fell apart pretty quickly. Not as quick as Jussie Smollett, but it fell apart pretty quickly. And it got crazy. If you weren't around then, 18 years ago, it got insane. The media, they wanted these kids strung up. And her story had holes in it, but they didn't care. The main reason was there was a corrupt DA named Mike Nifong, who wanted to win votes in Durham, North Carolina, which was predominantly black. So he threw these guys to the wolves. He knew they were innocent, and he didn't care. You know what price he paid? He was disbarred, but you know what else? He spent 1 day in jail, 1 day, for trying to destroy the lives of innocent Duke students who had to leave school. They canceled the lacrosse season. A petition signed by 88 professors condemning these students and calling for their prosecution and their expulsion. They didn't care that the story was far-fetched. Didn't matter. This was a long time ago, but man, I guess the Duke kids are lucky it didn't happen in 2020 because they'd be in prison right now. Believe all women and all. So yesterday, Crystal Mangan, who you could say, belongs in prison, and she does, but she's been in prison. She killed her boyfriend and did, I forget, 14 years or something for stabbing her boyfriend to death. She comes clean yesterday. She found Jesus literally and admits she made it all up. Listen to this.
And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't. And that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And that was wrong. And I hope that they can forgive me.
I'm not so sure they're going to forgive her. The students Reed Seligman, Colin Finnerty, and David Evans reached a confidential settlement with Duke, rumored to be in the millions. Good for them. They deserved it. No apologies, not that I can recall, from the 88 professors or the countless people in the media who believed her, ran with the story, didn't care about the facts. And by the way, so did Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, all the usual suspects. I'm not sure how much coverage this is going to get, but it doesn't matter. It could never be as much as she got 18 years ago. It could never. They could never. Will they apologize? Will Al Sharpton apologize?
No, absolutely not.
I mean,
did you hear her? The remorse was definitely not there in her voice.
I mean, I guess I don't even know her motivation now. Is she indeed found God? Is she feeling guilt? And when I tweeted about this, a number of people said, "Good for her. And better late than never." She's being honest, and it's something, Jussie Smollett or Christy Blasey Ford, they haven't done this. They haven't come clean. Maybe they will in 18 years, but I give her some credit for being honest. And I hope those guys have recovered, and I hope they invested well the money they got from Duke and they're living their lives. But it was a wild story at the time, and it was ahead of its time, put it that way, because it was all along racial lines, and all the usual suspects were believing it and buying it and demanding the heads of these Duke guys. They were, they fit the profile. The narrative was just too much for the media to ignore. They were wealthy white guys playing lacrosse at Duke. You don't get more white privilege than that. She was a poor black woman from the other side of the tracks. It just added up too perfectly. And now we know, 18 years later, we know for definitively she made it all up. We kind of knew that already, but I guess good for her. She's not going to face criminal charges. I believe the statute of limitations is up. And again, she did some hard time for killing her boyfriend. All right. We will leave it there. I'm getting ready. I'm already psyched to watch Army Navy and hear what kind of reception American hero Daniel Penny gets in Landover, Maryland tomorrow. What a great idea. What a great move. I'm telling you, everything is turning up Trump Vance. Everything is going their way, and it's great to watch. But thanks for watching this week, listening. We appreciate everybody checking us out on Free Speech Rumble and on Twitter. Numbers are great. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Gerry Callahan. What are you, Ironhead? Give your Twitter handle.
I'm at Craig VGS.
At Craig VGS. If you want to hear the deep thoughts of Ironhead, you can find it on Twitter. But again, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we'll do it again Monday morning.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone.